Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gills, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the office. Welcome to the morning grind. I hope you have your drink ready. Today, we're going to take a bit of a break from the RPG side of things, but continuing with our theme of domain level play and gaming out empires by taking a look at the game Mighty Empires, which was released by Games Workshop years ago, and I never got the boxed set, but I wish I did have it. But we found its rules as a PDF, and so I want to take a look at that so we can take a look at domain level play from the game perspective. So game, and by that I'm talking about the difference between gamist, simulationist, and narrative style plays when we're talking about games. So the GURPS realm management was very simulationist. I suppose that there was a lot to the rules cyclopedia domain level play, but I would say that it was more gamist than the GURPS simulationist style. But here is something that we've got that is strictly in the gamist category, and so I want to see what that is, because, like I was saying, what's the least that we can do to do something? like run a domain level game. And also, what's fun, right? If it's not fun, let's not do it. So that's more of the game approach as well, right? So if it's fun, then we should have it in the game. If you're playing your empire or your domain or whatever, and it's not fun, then we shouldn't be doing it. And perhaps moving armies around, conquering things, and situations like that are more fun to be doing. So Zero the Blade is here. Good morning, Zero the Blade. Hey, Mike. Good morning. Sable Phoenix is here. And Chiron is here. Good morning. Good morning. Says, love Mighty Empires. I don't have my original copy anymore, but I have kit bashed a copy using parts from other games, including War of Kings and an original rulebook. It seems like that wouldn't be all that hard to do. Now, we do have the tiles. We do have the tiles that for the board that you set out, the hexagonal tiles that, well, they're Terra tiles, but those would be very large. But yes, including War of Kings, something like that to put together everything necessary to play Mighty Empires. I think that does definitely feel like it should be possible. Good morning, Stray. Good to see you. Good morning, Stray. And Vision. Welcome, Vision. Good to see you. So yesterday, I took a look at the... Oh, Zero Theory. Good morning, Zero Theory. Yesterday, I was up in Birmingham for a lunch meeting for a while, and I did some other things and some errands while I was up there. But last night when I got back, I did review the Goodnight Sword Kickstarter page, and I noticed that there was some commentary on it because here the preview is now up. So if you actually want to preview, and I did post this to YouTube's community tab, but the Goodnight Sword Kickstarter is going to be here. And then, but if you want to see the preview of the page, here is the preview of the page. That's going to let you in and actually see what the page looks like. I'm going to go over it one more time, but I think that's basically it. We did have some comments, comment on it yesterday. I saw, I don't know if there's another one today, but I'm also kind of a believer in the no surprises Kickstarter. So if you go to that link, if you go to the preview link, you'll see this is a private preview, and you will be able to see. I think you do have to be logged into Kickstarter. You might have to be logged into Kickstarter, but if you hit that link, you'll get a private link to exactly what I've built out. Because I'm also a fan of the no surprises Kickstarter idea that by the time you get to the page, if you've been following what's been going on, then there shouldn't be any kind of like major shock or anything like that by the time you get to the Kickstarter page, if you're interested in having the kinds of things that I'm kickstarting here. So I'm going to have $7 Goodnight Sword Digital Edition, $25 Goodnight Sword hardback and ebook. I found that I was able to expand some of the countries that it can ship to. For some reason, originally I thought, this is another good thing I checked, could only ship to the United States and the UK, but I've been able to put some additional countries in there. So if you're in Canada, Central America, South America, that's a no-go, but Canada is in there now. So is France and Germany, and Australia might be on there too now. So I was able to add some other countries because this is all shipping direct from the POD place from them to you. So it's based on their shipping. But that's the hardback book and ebook. It's hardback book and ebook. And then the signed Goodnight Sword hardback book. And of course, that includes an ebook as well. So that's that. So basic page, but got questions and answers here. Got shipping, information on shipping. Somebody asked for a little bit of clarification here on the shipping, or maybe I needed to reword a couple things in this paragraph. So that's great. I did, while I was up in Birmingham yesterday, donate 2 of the preview copies, the copies that I had printed up in advance, the advanced preview copies, sent out to, donated to the Hoover Library. So there are 2 that were donated to a library. I'm going to donate 1 to the local library, maybe this afternoon or in the next few days whenever I get there. Let's see. So that's what's going on there. What else? I'll put out the Discord link in case you are here. Let's see. Sable Phoenix says, good morning, Zero Theory. I don't remember if I said hi. Sable Phoenix says, just got a brief just from a brief bit of research, seems like this was Games Workshop's attempt at doing Total War in board game form. You use this to manage the realm and dictate when and where the individual miniatures battles take place, and the stakes for the outcome of battles before winning points, beyond just winning points. Yes, and there are also ways, which I think is important, to adjudicate the battle at the higher levels. You don't have to go down and play out an entire Warhammer game for each battle. You could, but also you can adjudicate it at this higher level as well. And this seems like something I don't remember being aware of this game during my heyday of Games Workshop play, but I feel like that if we had been aware of it, or it had been out or something like that, I think, this is, I believe, from the 1990s. It's a bit earlier, I think, than I was involved in Warhammer. But if it had been, it feels like something we absolutely would have used. I was also working on some video ads last night to put on Instagram and YouTube on the Tales of Rabavania YouTube channel about the upcoming Goodnight Sword. And I'm thinking that I need to return to the World Primer after this and really embrace the OSR. So we'll look at OSE. I'm thinking that OSE is going to be the one to use. The old school essentials. We're going to look at that soon to do some stuff with Rabavania. Oh, Stray says, how's the chair hunt going? I'm going to go up and buy one from the office supply store. It's like, I don't know if it's Office Max or Office Depot or whichever one it is that's not out of business. So I'm going to go and get one directly from Office Depot. I'm going to be traveling around again tomorrow. Oh, remember, no morning grind tomorrow, because I'm going to be running around. I've got a funeral to go to that's like at 10 o'clock in the morning. So I got to be there early. And I'm thinking about stopping by and actually, because I want to be, rather than buying it online, there's a specific store that I like to go to for office chairs. So I was thinking about doing that this weekend. That way I can get out of this kitchen chair here. And then also tonight, we've got Dinner and a Board Game. Dinner and a Board Game episode. Oh, no, it's episode 4 of season 2, but it is quest 3 of the Barbarian quest pack. Cal says you still have this. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. Kyron says the images of the original titles are easy to find online, or you can use the tiles from games that have similar terrain. Okay. Well, I guess that shouldn't surprise me either. The original tiles are easy to find. And I have seen people who have been doing like 3D prints of tiles. I bet it's also pretty easy to find people who have done like 3-dimensional models of tiles. I saw somebody who had made that, and I don't know if I backed it on. I don't think it was specifically for Mighty Empires, but somebody who had done some really nice hexagonal tiles for world building. Oh, yeah, Robert. Okay, so getting down here. So Sable Phoenix says, just out of curiosity, why anthropomorphic rabbits specifically? Why not mice or cats or foxes or raccoons or any other kind of animal? Well, most of those are in there. Why it's anthropomorphic rabbits is because I had a stuffed rabbit as a kid when I was real young. That was like my favorite stuffed animal. And so I decided to make a story about him. That was like, I didn't have a lot of, and my brother had like tons of different like stuffed animals and things like that. Which one of his sons has carried on that tradition. But I didn't have all that many, but I did have like a favorite rabbit that I had instead of like a blanket or something like that, anything like that. In fact, he needs to be behind me. I've still got him to this day because he is a prized possession. And, you know, he's something that should be behind me. I think he's in the closet. So that was the inspiration for rabbits. I decided I would make a story about him, like originally. That's why. But in Rabavania, there are also mice. There used to be cats. Now, I haven't put cats into this iteration right now. But there are foxes because they ride foxes. The Rabavanian knights ride foxes. And raccoons. Raccoons are the big bad guy. So the raccoons are the barbarian horde outside of Rabavania. Love the tiles. Give the OSR a Yeti hug. Just for you, Zero Theory. Oh, it's time for a Yeti hug break. Yeti hug break, Yeti hug break. Everybody go hug yo Yeti and show yo Yeti some love. Hey, Robert. Robert says, I sent you an updated AI text adventure game. Heath, it might be ready for a demo. Okay, well, that's cool. I saw your Twitter posts. So Robert's been working on a text-based adventure game using ChatGPT or GPT-4, and I was following that on Twitter. I was looking at that, I believe it was last night, what you had tweeted out. I'm interested. It looked really neat. I'm looking for somebody to get that right. Sable Phoenix says OSE is basically just the original D&D rules transcribed and cleaned up. Well, what else? What is the best OSE rules? I mean, we could do it. I don't think it's right to do it in Knave 2nd edition. Is it right to do it in Shadow Dark? Oh, Wild Barley is here. Wild Barley says, I played a Mighty Empires integrated into a Warhammer Fantasy campaign too. Well, I'm jealous. I never got to do that. But yes, I suppose that's when it would really shine. I figured out the database issue, Robert says. It can remember the last 7 moves, basically, so the maze keeps shifting if you backtrack. Ah. Now, that seemed to be the persistent memory is one of those things. That it seemed like any kind of memory like that in the database, like that's what it needed. Because the other attempts that I've seen at that, it was just not working. Because of that, it seemed like it needed that. Okay, cats would be like a dragon in that realm, I would imagine. Yeah, it depends on. I used to, if you want to keep the size. Well, snakes are kind of like what they fight, that are kind of like reptile and serpent-like. But yeah, the size difference between the rabbits and the cats, like today, like I had them walking around on 2 legs, I think originally years and years and years ago, but I don't think that works. I think if you're going to integrate cats or dogs, they would have to actually be 4-legged and be much larger. Cats are dragons in Malzritter. Yeah. All right. Zero Theory says Into the Odd or Electric Bastion could be fun OSR games to visit. Now for the purposes of this, we have done Into the Odd. We have looked at Into the Odd. So if you're looking for Into the Odd, if you look up Morning Grind or search for Morning Grind Into the Odd, we have looked at that one. Now, Electric Bastion Land, I don't know anything about. Robert says, in the next step, pre-generated dungeon into database and sync with prompt. Next step, pre-generate dungeon into database and sync with prompt. Yes. Well, I'm really fascinated by this project because I was trying to work with something. I just wanted to be able to interact with it. I was trying to come up with some way. I actually worked with that rather extensively a few weeks ago, trying to come up with the dungeon generation using ChatGPT, but I never got mine going. The AI wasn't strong enough to just get me completely off the ground. Definitely check out Into the Odd. It surprised me. Shadow of the Demon Lord as the OSE or OSR recommendation. All right, I'll think more about that because we need to come up with the right one rather than trying to come up with a new system right now. All right, let's bring up Mighty Empires. Let's sip. Oh, got the drink right here. Let's sip. Let's not forget that. I've been forgetting that a couple of times. So let's inhale twice deeply, exhale, and then take a sip of our drink. Here we go. Ah, very good. Yeah, me too, James. I keep hearing about Shadow of the Demon Lord, usually mentioned in the same breath as Lamentations. That's when I hear about it as well. I hear about those two about the same time as well. Okay, so here it is. So we've got game setup realms, the campaign season, ships, and war at sea. And I understand that the Man of War rules could be integrated into this potentially. I think Man of War came out later. The winter season, Equinox Magic, Winter Quarters, Winter Events, Revenue. I have read this before, but it's been a while. And I remember that unlike what we've looked at with the D&D rules cyclopedia and domain level play, and then also the GURPS domain level play, rather than going month by month. You have different turns that represent different amounts of time. A campaign season, and then you have a winter season. So it's not, every turn is not exactly the same amount of game time. Equinox Magic, winter quarters, winter events, revenue, diplomacy, recruitment, tabletop battles, casualties recovered, the campaign world, campaign chronicles. And yeah, it's true. So it's probably the ultimate ambition of every accomplished Warhammer player to take part in a large, well-organized campaign. What gamer could resist the chance to command an army of an entire nation? How can a single battle compare to the thrill of conquering cities, subjugating wild tribes, and defeating the armies of rival empires? The War Games campaign provides players with a means of linking together all of the intricate military problems of maps, supplies, movement, and diplomacy. Mighty Empires allows players to create their own map using the specifically designed map tiles and to recreate new maps as many times as they like. The map tiles also provide the basis for all supply and movement rules, allowing armies to conquer far and wide as the player empires expand. When the armies clash, it's time to transfer the action to a tabletop using the conventional Warhammer battle rules. As part of the campaign, the game battle assumes far more significance. Exactly. Whole empires may rise or fall depending on the outcome. Because players may not wish to fight out every battle or every minor conflict, the campaign rules provide an alternative system for working out battles on paper. So that's what we're doing here. And, you know, there is also War Master. I've got the War Master rules sitting back here. And actually, I do want to put together some War Master armies. I've got a lot of my 10mm miniatures that we created for War of Kings. I saved some specifically to create War Master armies with. And then I had War Master bases cut, and they're sitting over here in the office over on the craft shelf. So I've got those, and I really want to make those. One day we'll return to doing the Crafter's Corner on Sundays, and getting those painted up will be one of the things I want to do. So kind of I suppose you could do both. You could say, how does War Master fit within this and games and just Warhammer Fantasy Battles? But depending on the size of the armies that are being recruited here in Mighty Empires, you might be able to play out the actual battles in War Master as well. War Master is so awesome. Oh, you love War Master? I need to look at it again. I do remember thinking that it was a bit simple, but but it may work. I want to try it out. Good morning, Brandon. Good morning, Brandon. Good to have you here. So Sable Phoenix says, I have Lamentations the Flame Princess, but not Shadows of the Dark Lord. With my research, I don't really think Shadows of the Dark Lord is anything like Lamentations of the Flame Princess. They're dark and gruesome, but the mechanics are very different. Heroic, high fantasy, low magic, and gritty. Huh. Well, yeah, we should look at these. I wonder if those are on the list. Lamentations, I believe, is on that list. Oh, I absolutely love Warhammer, but War Master is so awesome. Wild Barley says we had neutral villages in the ME game, Mighty Empires game, and I played in where a player was randomly chosen to play them as the opposition force. I crushed Bradshaw, the Bretonians' entire 5K armory with 650 points of wood elves. Oh wow. I like the 10mm scale too. Okay, so let's see here. So game setup. This is what it contains. So if you're trying to figure out how to put this together, it says one rule book. Okay, 112 hexagon map tiles, city models, village models. Yep, that could definitely be War of Kings models. Okay, ship models. Now, when we did, I know how to get ship models pretty cheap, because if you look at there's a video on my channel where I upgraded the diplomacy game. I wanted to play diplomacy with, maybe we could do that online, like online live sometime, because I wanted to play diplomacy with the Dinner and a Board Game crew when we were all getting together for physical games. So Megan and I prepped a game of diplomacy with actual miniatures. I was rather disappointed with the diplomacy game that had been put out for even like its whatever anniversary edition, but it was all cardboard. There was the edition of diplomacy that I had from years and years and years ago was an old one where all of the ships and armies were wooden pieces, and they were just like wooden blocks, but at least they were some kind of wooden piece or something like that. The new diplomacy is really thin on components. It even was using punch outs, but I found some Napoleonic era warships on Amazon. And so we painted those to make those for ships. And Megan and I created a really nice diplomacy board. Definitely check that out. Look up the diplomacy here on my channel, like upgrading diplomacy. So I know you can get bags of like Napoleonic era looking warships, which would probably work for this just as well. Territory markers. You know, War of Kings can provide territory markers, espionage counters, baggage markers, dice, okay, strategy battle cards. Let's see what's in the cards. 15 fortress models. Yeah, War of Kings does have fortresses. 45 army pieces. So, yeah, there are multiple ways that you could do army pieces, including the War of Kings 10mm armies. But there are a lot of like 10mm things out there. Or you go with the much more abstract style. 45 army pieces, 15 dragon models. Oh, no, I didn't know about that. We had to come up with something for a dragon model. 24 raised territory markers. That should be pretty easy. 9 spell markers, one sheet of self-adhesive flags. So it looks like what's over here. So that's what we need in order to play. The map. The Mighty Empire's game map is made from the hexagonal map tiles. By placing the tiles together, the fantasy landscape of great mountain chains, rolling plains, mighty rivers, and wave-swept coasts is created. Mountain springs will form rivers, rising to the highlands and flowing down to the sea. Wide plains spread out to foothills, broken here and there by thick forests. River mouths will open up into jagged coastlines, enclosing the heartland of rival nations. Because the tiles may be laid down in countless different ways, the map will be different each time you play Mighty Empires. There are 4 different packs of map tiles, and each represents one of the 4 different predominant terrain types: lowland, river valley, coastal, and highland. The tiles can be identified by their reverse side. A lowland tile with wood, a lowland tile with hills, a plain lowland tile. Lowland tiles include open plains, forest, and low hills. So lowland tiles include open plains, forest, and low hills. So I guess this is like subcategories. Lowland is the high category, but includes plains, forests, and low hills. Some tiles are completely covered with one type of terrain, while the others show a fair mixture of several different types. Although some lowland tiles include hills, none contain mountains. Highland tiles are also covered with hills and mountains, but they will also include areas of plain or forest. Some highlands contain river sources, as shown by the blue river running off to one side. So this is a highland with a river source. Kyron says there were several minor expansions printed in White Dwarf. Basically, they were new rules, buildings, and I think a couple of factions. Necromancers with skeleton armies and Skaven, I think. I wonder if you can find those online. Mike Hansford says, diplomacy was awesome. We had a giant map that filled up most of the classroom, and our history and government teacher used it when I was in junior high school. We played for a week. Oh, well, that's cool. That's one of the games that... so I was reading... Okay, I was reading the rules to this. Here's another game. Like, diplomacy, I've heard, is one of those games which could potentially end friendships. Because if you haven't played diplomacy, you're not dicing out battles. you're trying to accumulate, okay, this army is going to attack this place and it needs support from these different other armies in different territories, and it's where you write out your commands. A lot of people do play that one play by post because you have to write out all of your commands for your armies, and then they're all resolved. And so you can backstab each other. You can negotiate and then backstab one another. I think I've only played it once. But that if you get backstabbed, it's one of those things that you have to watch out for. Because I was also reading this one. Has anyone played this one? I've also only played this game once. Because it's a lot like Diplomacy in that way. And I was reading the report on this one that's like, this could also be a friendship ending game. But I wanted to get deeper into this game. We played it once. And I realized it's one of those games where I played it once and I realized, oh, I didn't really understand what I was doing and kind of screwed myself over from the very beginning. But that was a long time ago. I played it again. But that one has more. It's got a diplomacy feel to it, but it's got more to it as well. Oh, right. The game ending friendships. I always wanted to play Diplomacy. It would have been great for, well, yeah, like some type of game some type of show where you could see people negotiating. And these people are not in the room. These people are negotiating, kind of like a reality TV game show. That's what we were going to try to do with it, with Dinner and a Board Game. But didn't exactly happen. River valley tiles contain stretches of rivers running from one edge to another. Some tiles show a river outlet and an area of coast. These are river end tiles, where they are used to join a river to the sea. There are also special swamp and lake tiles, which are discussed later. Okay, coastal tiles contain a stretch of coast. These are laid to form coastlines, complete with inlets, promontories, and other typical coastal features. You'll notice that some of the coastal tiles contain inlets, which are similar to river endings in the valley pack. These serve the dual role in that they can be used to represent ordinary indentations in the coast or to denote river endings if necessary. Okay. Every tile has 6 edges. Each edge is clearly marked or colored with one specific type of terrain. Each type of terrain matches with one of the terrain pack. Terrain, mountain, edge, color, and description. This is kind of sucks. This is black and white here. Brown, matching tile pack, highland. Okay, so we've got a bunch of tiles for this. Capital tiles. There are 6 tiles marked with a circle indicating the possible positions of players' capital cities. These tiles are treated exactly like the highland, lowland, coastal, or river valleys, depending on the pack that they came from. Above a capital tile, below 2 highland tiles showing river sources. Okay, so we do have like mountain edge, which is brown, mountain edge brown, plain green edged. So there must be a color on the side here. Mountain brown edged, river blue, river blue river, plain green edge. So here, this is mountain brown edge, plain green edge. Sea, coast half blue, river end of plain. So the game map can be laid out by one or more people. To begin with, design a few maps by yourself. You know, actually, we toyed with the idea of having the game board be constructed when Seth and I were designing War of Kings. But we went against that. We were like, well, instead of having to construct the game board out of tiles, we were trying to get you playing faster. And so we're like, rather than having to do that, let's just pull out the game board and lay that out and then play on that. Daniel says, I like how friendship ending is a positive trait for board games. There's friendship ending, and then there's the game. Oh my God. What game is it that there was a card game? Wait. That is marriage ending. What is the marriage ending card game? Yep. Okay. The- uh, whoa. Okay, so there was this game, Scruples, the card game. I remember seeing this game in the closet when I was a young kid. Wait, where did my the game of Scruples? And I was like, oh, well, what's this game? Because I like it. I remember this black box that it's in. I was like, all right, oh, what's this? And mother was like, do not, no, that is not for you. That is not the kind of game that we play. And then later I found out that there was like some infamous game of Scruples which had been played with like the family and aunts and uncles and things like that, and everybody almost ended up in divorce over it, or at least one couple did. And that just everybody, because it has something to do with like, well, you have questions and that you are supposed to ask a question to your partner, and like you're supposed to figure out what, like in some type of situation they might be in, how they're supposed to respond, and then you bet on how they're going to respond, and then seeing like how well you know your partner or something like that. And apparently that game caused fights. The friendship killer game's the type I try to avoid because you get that one guy who is overly competitive. Yeah, if you have that one guy in the gaming group, it can be rough. Does anybody know that game, Scruples? So the game map can be laid out by one or more people. To begin with, design a few maps by yourself. Once you have the hang of things, you can invite a few players to participate in creating a map for your game. The method described below shows how to lay out your map using just a few simple rules. You do not have to use these or any rules to make your map. You can just place the tiles entirely at your own discretion if you prefer. Divide the 4 packs. Sort the map tiles into their 4 separate packs: Highland, Lowland, Coastal, and River Valley. Then shuffle each pack and place them face down beside you. You need about 4 feet square to lay out the map, so make sure you have ample space before you begin. Place the first tile. Take a map tile from the Highland pack and place it face up in the center of your area. This is a Highland tile that will have mountains or other upland areas marked on it. Orient the tile so the mountain peak points directly upward. Note that the mountain peaks always point toward one of the corners of the tile and not to the flat edges. Highland features are colored in shades of brown. The tile may have the areas of lowland as shown by the green areas on the tile. It is also possible the tile will show a river source as indicated by the blue river flowing off one edge. A highland tile is placed first because this pack contains the river sources as well as plains and mountain edges. No other pack contains river sources. Place the second tile. The second tile is taken from a pack which matches the exposed tile, an exposed edge of the first tile. For example, if the first tile shows 4 mountain edges and 2 plain edges, the second tile must be taken from the Highlands or Lowland pack. You cannot take a river valley or coastal tile, as it wouldn't match any of the exposed edges. Orient a new tile so the hills and mountains are pointing upward. If the tile has none of these features, it can be turned in any direction. Place the tile against an exposed edge where the terrain matches the tile's pack type. Place the tile against an exposed edge where the terrain matches the tile's pack type. A tile from the Highland pack must always be placed against a mountain or a hill edge. A tile from the river pack, valley pack, must always be placed against a river edge, and so on. I think we're doing all this to create some kind of believable geography. I think that's the purpose of this. James says some games need to ship with 2 pairs of boxing gloves. I've actually never heard of Scruples. This is what it... That's it. That's what it looked like. That's the box. I remember that box. And like I said, it looks like... So the questions are like, what is this? You're a homeowner. A social agency wants to establish a home for 7 mentally handicapped adults next door. Do you sign a petition opposing this? Whoa. I think this game is being called out also because it's like what type of game was this? Late one evening, your 19-year-old daughter asked permission to have her boyfriend to stay over. Do you give it? You come across your mate's personal address book. Do you glance through it? After your guests leave, you discover $1 and change on the sofa where one was sitting. Do you make a point of returning it? Wow. Like this, look at this card. You're a high school principal. Like, this was a morally challenging question in 1986. You are a high school principal. Will you hire a competent teacher who's a homosexual? Whoa. So that's what that game was like. Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, so it looks like we've got rules here to try to like adjudicate believable geography of our realm here. To keep like mountains together and I wish we could see these tiles better, but keeping mountains together, keeping rivers flowing and so forth. Let's skip a little bit beyond that. Because there's a lot on tile placement. And see, we didn't want to go through this in War of Kings. This is the kind of stuff that we did not want to go through in War of Kings. Because no small chunk of this rule book is about generating terrain with these. Okay, so realms. Okay. If you are playing Mighty Empires as a self-contained game, there is nothing to stop you from beginning immediately. However, if you intend to use Mighty Empires as the basis for a long-term campaign involving many Warhammer Fantasy Battle games, you must decide what to do with the map during the weeks and months the campaign lasts. Okay, got that. Figure out how to keep the map. Okay, creating a realm. All right. A Mighty Empires game may be fought between 2 or 3 players, although with an addition of further sets, more can be accommodated. Each side is represented by one player who so that's interesting. That the stuff that we just brought out had the game components that we just looked at was for 2 or 3 players. So you would need more if you're going to do more. You're going to have more players. So each side is represented by one player who commands the armies and dictates the strategy of the realm. The realm is the player's homeland and is populated by one of the Warhammer races: elves, goblinoids, men, and so on. The player may be a king, a powerful baron, a freebooter, warlord, or any type of the head of state appropriate to his chosen race. Once the map is complete, the possible sites for realms are indicated by the position of capital city tiles. To establish where the realms lie, each player rolls a die, and the highest scoring player chooses one of the capital tiles as the center of the realm. The player places a city piece marked with a flag of his chosen color on the tile. The player with the next highest die score then chooses his capital and color, and so on, until each player has chosen a capital. There are 3 complete sets of adhesive flags, blue, red, and yellow, plus additional flags to represent independent realms. Orange. Oh, that's interesting. Orange is independent here, and orange was the color of the Marauders in War of Kings. Maybe that's just the thinking. For some reason, orange says independent. Unused capital tiles may be left unexplored or assumed to be the site of independent cities, in which case a city model with an orange independent flag is placed on the tiles. Each realm consists of a capital city plus 1 tile-wide band of territory all around it, making a total of 7 tiles. This territory may contain villages, cities, or fortresses, or it may be barren or unoccupied. If the capital lies on the seashore or map edge, some of the player's territory may be lost, in which case the realm is slightly smaller than normal. Players may wish to move capitals from the map edge to avoid this. Each player determines what lies within his realm using the following chart. First, nominate one of the territory tiles. Then roll 2d6 and compare the result to the type of tile. Okay. To the type of tile: highland, lowland, river, valley, or coastal. The result indicates the type of settlement in that tile. The player then places a settlement piece of the appropriate type and attaches his own colored flag. The player then continues to roll for each tile until the territory is filled. So we're rolling 2d6. We might have villages, fortresses, cities, or barren land using this bell curve distribution. If the tile is barren, place the territory marker of the player's player's color. If the tile is windswept, infertile, or generally unsupportive of agriculture or industry, it is sparsely inhabited, if at all. Oh, barren. Okay, so so that's barren is an option here. So barren just means you control it, but it's generally unsupportive of agriculture or industry. The presence of a village counter on a tile does not indicate that there is literally one village in the area. It means the area is fertile, productive, and inhabited by a substantial population spread throughout villages, farms, and market towns. These areas provide the agricultural and industrial lifeblood of the realm, and every bit as important as cities and fortresses. Fortresses. A fortress counter represents a great castle or fortress built to defend the realm against attack. A tile which contains a fortress is not necessarily otherwise empty. As well as the fortress, the tile contains villages, farms, and other settlements. City. The city counter represents a city with outlying villages and communities. The city attracts wealth and trade from the surrounding areas and has a large population. The capital city represents the very heart of the player's realm. Cities in a coastal tile are also trading ports where large merchant ships can dock. Some of these cities have a resident fleet of trading ships representing the game of the ship's models. If a player's realm includes ports, roll d6 for each in turn and place the number of ship models shown in the chart below. We never included ships in War of Kings, but I think that the addition is nice. If we had gone on, we probably would have included, created a ship's expansion. Each ship model represents a small trading fleet consisting of various sizes and designs. They are not warships as such. The player may well wish to use fleets to transport their armies during the course of the campaign. So each ship model represents a small trading fleet, not necessarily warships. The object of the campaign is to overthrow your enemy by conquering his army and expanding your own realm into an empire. The player expands his territory. As the player expands his territory, his empire grows, but his own realm remains the same. It is always the capital city plus the adjoining tiles. An empire is therefore a player's realm plus all the territory he has conquered. So our objective is to overthrow the enemy by conquering his army and expanding our realm. The realm's army. Once the player has located and populated his realm, it is time to determine its military strength. Player strength is represented by a points value. Many players prefer a system where every realm begins with an equal military strength. This can easily be achieved if players agree on a mutually convenient points total between 3,000 and 5,000 points is best. And if you haven't played Warhammer Fantasy Battles, you're always building out your armies based on points. If you're using Mighty Empires as a basis for Warhammer Fantasy Battle campaign, then the point value of the army reflects the point value of the troops given in your Warhammer Armies book. Players do not need to own models equal to the points value of all troops in the campaign. Logistical limitations will tend to mean that battles rarely involve more than 3,000 points on the side. It's very unusual for a player to commit all of his troops to a single battle. As a guide, allow about twice as many points for the campaign as you have point values of models. As an alternative to the fixed points value, player strength may be determined randomly by each player. Real military campaigns are never fought between carefully balanced armies, so a random strength is more realistic. If the campaign involves two players, the random method is not recommended. It can lead to a very swift and bloody end for a player unlucky enough to generate an unusually small force. When the players are involved in when more players are involved, the random method is superior, as it will force players into different strategies from the start. To determine the realm's military strength, roll the dice and add up the totals below. So for each capital, roll 5d6 times 100 points, getting you this kind of average. for each city, for each fortress, and each village. So this chart should generate an initial strength of approximately 3,500 to 4,000 points for each realm. Wild Barley says, I think there's a market for a Star Wars Armada-style steampunk airships game, unless one already exists. Oh, well, that sounds pretty cool. I'm not deep into steampunk, but I'm already envisioning the models. That sounds pretty cool. I do have, I've got Armada, don't I? Yeah, I do. Okay, I've got the Armada box set over there. But you know what? I don't think I've ever even opened that. That could be something to do. So I guess I haven't played it. Maybe I've just seen it played. Unboxing that could be something to do one day on the morning grind when it's time to open up a box. I'm totally seeing the miniatures on that. Does anybody know of a steampunk airship game? Let's see. Where the Mighty Empires game is used as a campaign system in conjunction with the Warhammer Fantasy battles, it will be necessary to convert the initial point values into troops. If players wish to play Mighty Empires as a self-contained game without fighting any tabletop battles, they won't have to work out proper armies. The point value alone will be sufficient, and the comments below do not apply. So if you're just going to be resolving battles at the highest level during this game, no need to actually put together army rosters. But if you're using the full Warhammer Fantasy Battle system, players will require a copy of Warhammer Armies to work out their forces, because there was an army book for every one of the different armies. And whatever edition of Warhammer was being played at the time, it not allowed any hosts. Mercenaries or allies, although these may be added later. The initial military strength only represents the player's own troops, not peripheral types of employed, loaned, or conjured by him. If a player wishes his army to include a spectacular engine or beast model he has converted himself, I mean, that would be fun. I mean, I'd like to know what different types of units compose all of the different armies. But it's saying that's not going to matter if you're playing exclusively at this high level. Maybe there's some way to make that happen. Ironclads and ether flyers by Game Designers Workshops. Ironclads. Let me look at images. Oh, that looks like an old school game. Aeronaval warfare in the 19th century. Whoa. That's a blast from the past. Crimson Skies. That's Diesel Punk. I never got into Battlefleet Gothic. The miniatures that I've seen, like when you're looking at pictures, do seem pretty cool. Okay, so make up your army list. Okay, divide armies into banners. Each empire's army is divided into separate field armies called banners. Banners are placed on specific map tiles to indicate where troops are deployed. Because each banner represents a different body of troops, it's necessary to fix one of the numbered stickers to each set of banners. The number is used to identify the banner when it's on the map. So to each banner is attached a self-adhesive flag bearing the player's colored badge on one side and identifying number on the other. At the beginning of the campaign, each banner must contain a minimum of 500 points and a maximum of 1,500 points of troops. Those playing Mighty Empires as a self-contained game simply divide their total number of points between separate banners and record their point values of each banner on a sheet of paper. Players selecting tabletop armies from Warhammer armies must also ensure that each banner contains at least one character model and between 1 and 5 rank and file units. I played Warhammer at the height of what they called Hero Hammer. And even then, I wasn't all that fond of characters, because they could be overpowered. And I hated when you would, paint up or have this nice block of troops and then some one individual character come in and chop them all up. So I think I would even leave off like the major heroes and things like that and say, listen, we're just playing with I mean, you can have, like your basic champions and things like that, but hey, let's play where, the the Bretonian champion knight or the high elf hero doesn't just chop up everything on one side of the battlefield. And between 1 and 5 rank and file units. This represents the maximum number of troops. No, each banner contains at least one character model. Oh, and between 1 and 5, not at least, but between 1 and 5 rank and file units. This represents the maximum number of troops that can successfully forage from the surrounding area, as explained later. Oh, so that's interesting. So that's almost like, that reminds me of like Napoleonic divisions or something like that. So you can't just have a banner that is. That's why it's saying that logistically, you're probably not going to be able to bring together armies of over 3,000 points very often. See you later, Kyron. To organize the army into individual banners, take a blank piece of paper and write banner 1, banner 2, banner 3, and so on, and leave sufficient room. Write point values of each character. Okay. It's possible to split an army into relatively few banners or into as many as the minimum points troops rules allow. It's up to you to decide how to split your army. You may prefer to concentrate your troops, or you may opt to divide the army into as many banners as possible. I can see, I think I see where we're going here, and I kind of like this idea of that you're going to be looking at supply based on banners. There are advantages and drawbacks to each option, as players will realize once the game is underway. Bear in mind that a banner will have to act on its own against an enemy force, so it should include a reasonable balance of troops. For instance, a banner which contains no missile troops could find itself as a severe disadvantage if faced by an enemy equipped with a preponderance of missiles and engines. Yeah, so you are trying to make this like a banner needs to be like a division that can operate independently. Like the smallest unit that can operate individually. I never played Mage Knight. I remember a lot of people being into it, but I never played it. Similarly, a banner which contains only missile or engines will be vulnerable to shock troops. On the other hand, a player might deliberately create a number of weak banners in order to mislead other players about his deployments. The ideal combination will depend on to a large extent on the type of army you are using. Once the players are ready, each player places his banners within his own realm. There is no limit to the number of banners which can be placed in a tile, though crowding banners into a single tile will pose logistical problems, as we shall see later. Banners may start the game at any point on the tile, i.e. they can be placed on either side of an impenetrable terrain. It's convenient to refer to all the banners in the tile. It's convenient to refer to all banners in a single tile as a force. A force can consist of any number of banners. Place baggage counters. All armies require baggage. Don't worry about how this works right now. All will be explained in the following section. Baggage is represented by special baggage counters worth 1 or more baggage points. Baggage counters are placed underneath banner models, indicating how much baggage each banner has. At the start of each game, each player randomly generates the amount of baggage he has at his disposal by rolling 2d6. The initial allocation represents the realm's stockpile of supplies for the campaign season. Future baggage must be bought. The baggage can be distributed as you like through the realm's forces, though no banner may have more than a 6-point baggage counter placed beneath the banner, and the campaign season is then ready to begin. Okay, well that's not terrible setup. There were a lot of rules about how to generate the terrain. But once you've done that, that doesn't sound too hard. So we are not concerned with the education levels of our kingdom or the openness levels of the kingdom or all of the myriad of things that GURPS was concerned with. Let's see here. So the Mighty Empire's map represents a medieval environment where roads and rivers are rarely passable during the winter and where military conquest is largely restricted to the summer months. This period, stretching from the spring to autumnal equinox, is known as the campaign season. During the campaign season, armies march to war and plans hatch over the winter and are finally put to the test. The campaign season covers 6 months or 24 weeks of activity. It ends with a period of retrenchment in which armies retire to winter quarters, crops are gathered, and the battling nations prepare for the following season. This remaining portion of the year is called winter and is described in its own section. So the campaign season is divided into 6 turns, each representing 4 weeks or 1 month. So the campaign turns are 1 month. So we have spring equinox all the way to autumn equinox and then winter. During each campaign turn, each player takes an individual turn. To determine who goes first in any campaign turn, the player rolls a d6. I wonder if there is some way to do this simultaneously. The highest scoring player goes first, followed by the next, and so on. During his individual turn, the player works through the sequence given below. Special rules for each phase and the sequence are explained later. Once every player has taken his individual turn, the campaign turn is over and another has begun. Subsistence. Calculate subsistence for all banners and pay any deficit with baggage. Scouting. A banner may scout an adjacent tile. Movement. A banner may move into an adjacent tile it has scouted. Battle. If a banner moves into a tile already occupied by one or more enemy banners, there will be a battle. If the enemy retires to a fortress or city, there may be a siege instead. Siege. A besieging force resolves all assault or other actions. Raise. A banner may raise any uncontested tile which it occupies, whether its civilian inhabitants are ostensibly friendly or not. A fortress or city under siege cannot be raised while it remains defended. Reorganization. A banner may be split up or combined with other banners in the same tile, baggage redistributed, and baggage stockpiles created. Let's see. Armies require a constant source of supply in the form of food, clothing, arms, and transport. In the game, supplies are represented by the subsistence rules. A player who fails to take note of the effects of these rules will quickly find his armies disappearing as desertion and starvation take their inevitable toll. Subsistence is calculated in terms of subsistence points. A single banner requires 1 subsistence point at the beginning of each player's turn. Subsistence can be obtained from 2 sources. 1. Foraging. A banner may obtain subsistence by foraging in the tile it occupies at the beginning of the player's turn. Foraging encompasses the gathering and requisitioning of crops and livestock and billeting of troops on the local population. Each tile has a subsistence value depending on its population shown below. So capital is 4, other city is 2, fortress is 1, and village is 1. Barren is 0. The subsistence value indicates the maximum subsistence points and hence the maximum number of banners that the tile can support by foraging. A single banner may therefore subsist on any tile other than a barren one. 2 banners can subsist on a city or capital. 2 banners can subsist only on a city or capital. If 2 or more friendly banners occupy a village or fortress, one of the banners may subsist on as normal while the other will be forced to subsist from baggage. During a siege, neither side may subsist by foraging in the tile. Oh, that's probably important. During a siege, neither side may subsist. You've got to have supplies. Oh, Access Your Inner Light. Welcome. Good to see you. Inner Light says, nice. I adapted the rules from this game for my own realm management type rules. I'm liking it so far. So a banner may subsist from baggage. 1 point of baggage enables a single banner to subsist for that turn. The player deducts 1 point of baggage from the baggage train. If several friendly banners occupy the same tile, their baggage may be pooled and redistributed. A banner may therefore acquire baggage from other banners. Baggage may also be acquired from the enemy following a battle or siege, or as the result of raising settlements. No banner may ever have more than 6 points of baggage at a time. If a banner gains more than 6 points of baggage, the surefit is lost immediately. If a banner is unable to subsist, it is in deep trouble. Supplies will gradually run out, starvation will lead to desertion, equipment will be lost, ammunition is used up, transport is abandoned or eaten, and if a player is unable to provide subsistence for a banner, he must make an immediate check for the subsistence shortfall. Roll d6 and consult the chart below. So this is the number of points of troops that are going away. D6. D6 times 50 times 20 times 10 times 5, or no effect. 5 or 6 you manage to endure. The player determines the point values lost and removes this from his banner's recorded value. When banners represent Warhammer Fantasy armies, troops are removed to the value indicated. A player may be forced to remove more points than required because of the value of individual models. The player may choose which troops to remove, conserving what supplies he has for his favored units. Note that the player is under no obligation to remove whole units and can remove troops from several units if he wants. Scouting. When armies move, it is assumed that small detachments are sent ahead to locate settlements, assess forage potential, and ensure the safe passage of the army. This is called scouting. Scouting declaration. During the scouting phase, the player indicates that his banners are attempting to scout an adjacent tile. Each banner may attempt to scout only one adjacent tile per turn. It is not permitted for a player to attempt to scout the same tile twice during the same turn. Scouting is important for two reasons. If the tile hasn't been scouted yet, it will be empty or unknown. By successfully scouting the tile, the player finds out what's in it and may be able to absorb the tile into his empire. A banner may not move during the movement phase unless it has successfully scouted the tile into which it intends to move. Scouting is therefore an important limitation on the movement of forces. If two or more friendly banners are grouped together in the same tile, each banner may attempt to scout a different adjacent tile. The player may then choose to send any or all of the banners into any or all the successfully scouted tiles. Blocking terrain. The presence of mountains and rivers, which would normally block movement of a banner, makes no difference to scouting. Terrain of this type can prevent a large body of troops from moving, but does not hinder a tiny group of scouts. Note, however, that it's not possible to scout across the open sea. I like this. To establish whether scouting is successful, roll 2d6 and consult the scouting chart, which I guess we will get to. Appropriate for the type of terrain. The result will depend on whether the tile has already been explored. A tile which has already been successfully scouted is called a known tile. A tile which is not yet successfully scouted is an unknown tile. Scouting unknown tiles. An unknown tile is a tile which is empty. It contains no settlement or territory counters. The existence of settlements in the unknown tile is established when the tile is scouted and an appropriate settlement piece is placed on the tile. Once a tile's contents have been established, they are fixed. Further scouting cannot alter or affect what is in the tile. Find the appropriate scouting chart for the tile territory type. Roll 2d6. Oh, here we go. And describe the results. If the result is barren, the tile contains no settlements, but still becomes a part of the scouting player's expanding empire. A territory counter of the player's color is placed on the tile. Okay. If the result indicates an event, then some problem has beset the force and the tile is not successfully scouted. A further roll is made on the scouting event chart as explained later. If the result indicates there's a settlement on the tile, it normally becomes part of the player's empire. A village, fortress, or city piece with the appropriate colored flag is placed there. If a settlement resists the invader, then a settlement counter with an orange independent flag is placed on the tile to represent an independent settlement. For rules regarding these independent settlements, see elsewhere. The number of playing pieces in the Mighty Empires set places a limit on the total number of settlements that can be discovered. It is convenient to rule that once all the pieces on the settlement have been used, no further settlements of that type can be discovered, and any further scouting results of that type are assumed to be barren instead. Players can, of course, increase the number of pieces in play by purchasing additional pieces or combining several Mighty Empire sets. So we've got different types of tiles. Like village, if the dice roll is double 3, the inhabitants of the tile resist your presence. See independent settlements. Place a village counter with an orange independent flag on the tile. If the roll is not double, the village submits to your rule and becomes part of your empire. Baron, or village, or city. River valley tile. Cities in a coastal tile always have associated harbors. A city may be literally by the sea, or there may be a separate harbor nearby. If scouting reveals a city in a coastal tile, the player makes the following additional D6 roll to see if there are any ships and how many. If the city submits to the player's rule, its ships automatically come under the player's control and are marked with the player's colored symbol. If the city is an independent settlement, its ships are also independent and marked with orange. Scouting events table. What can happen to you? Mass desertion. Mutiny. The troops are paralyzed by momentary unrest. No banner in the force may move this turn and may not scout or move in its following turn. The scouts encounter a mercenary band. Roll a d6. On a roll of 1 to 4, they succeed in recruiting d6 times 20 points of troops. On a roll of 5 to 6, they are brutally slaughtered by the mercenaries and never seen again. Whatever the result of the encounter, the tile remains unknown and the force cannot move this turn. Oh, Dragon's Lair. Must be how you get... Wild Barley says, in my experience, bad things always happen to my banners when scouting. I would want to look. That's one of the things I'd want to look at. Like, what exactly happens to you when you are scouting? Because you want to encourage players to go out. I mean, that's how they're trying to win the game. When you were exploring territory in War of Kings, there was a lot of bad stuff that could happen to you, which you can think can be fun, except for if you're supposed to encourage people to go out scouting. So it would be interesting to see what the balance is between good things and bad things that happen to you, because you want to encourage people to go out and expand their kingdom. Inner Light says, some of the rules are very wordy as written. I did simplify it quite a bit, but the basics are pretty good. So harbors, okay, scouting events. Independent settlements. Okay, we have to fight them if we're moving in to check them out. When an independent settlement spreads over adjoining tiles, they're assumed to form a single independent empire. Independent empires are less stable than the player's own empires. They're poorly organized or often formed from loose confederacies or tribal groups rather than proper nations. If an independent empire is split, isolated settlements are no longer considered part of the same empire. This makes no difference during the campaign season, but is important during the winter diplomacy, as players may wish to court independent empires as allies. See winter. A tile which already contains a city, fortress, or village or barren territory marker must still be successfully scouted before a banner can move into it. This applies whether the tile is part of your own empire or not. It's still necessary to roll in the scouting charts to see if a special event occurs, but ignore all other results if the settlements are already known. It should be easier to scout and move into yours, right? It seems like that. If a map tile belonging to a rival player is successfully scouted, and if there is no banner in the tile to defend it, then the tile changes its allegiance and becomes part of your empire. So you can do that just by scouting? You don't actually have to move the army in there? You would think you'd actually have to move the army in there, and it wouldn't be enough to just scout it. But apparently it is. Settlements in the tile become your settlements, the old flag is removed, and your flag is fastened in its place. These settlements have been liberated by the player and brought within his empire. Its people cheering his troops and promising to remain faithful to his rule. If the tile has an independent settlement in it, then this settlement does not automatically switch allegiances, but remains both independent and hostile. If the player wishes to move a banner into that tile, he will have to fight a force mustered by its inhabitants. If the tile belongs to a rival player and contains one or more banners, the tile does not change hands when it's scouted. The tile will only become part of the player's empire if he enters the map tile with his own force and defeats the occupying enemy force. Whenever a tile containing an enemy force is successfully scouted, roll a d6 and consult the scout skirmish chart. The scouts spy on the enemy's forces while the enemy's own outriders and pickets will naturally try to screen their forces and see off the intruder. So, scout skirmish chart, such as enemy outriders spot the scouts and drive them away. The contents of the enemy's force remains unknown. Or the scout succeeds in driving away the enemy's pickets and manages to get a good idea of the strength and size of his force. The enemy player must reveal the individual point value of every banner in the force and provide a detailed contents list of one banner nominated by the player. This can be achieved by showing the relevant section of the army sheet. The scouts avoid contact with the enemy and compile a thorough report of his forces. The enemy must provide a detailed content list of his entire force. This is achieved by showing the player the relevant banners on the army sheet. Okay. Hey, Stargate Mind. So is the tile known or unknown? Known tile. Enemy present. Scout skirmish chart. Make decision. Oh, you didn't tell me this wasn't up. Sorry about that. So scouting flow diagram. Is the tile known or unknown? Known tile, enemy present, scout skirmish chart. Make decision based on whether to enter the tile. If you enter the tile, proceed to a battle or a siege. Known tile, enemy not present. Independent settlement, no settlement, or enemy settlement. Unknown tile determines settlements on scouting chart. Movement. During the movement part of the turn, a banner may move into an adjacent tile, which is successfully scouted during the scouting phase. Banners never move more than one tile at a time and may never move into a tile unless it's been successfully scouted during the scouting phase. When moving a banner, the player repositions the piece as shown below. The banner is placed on the edge of the tile, adjacent to the tile it has just moved from. Banners always move from tile edge to tile edge in this way and are positioned so that it's obvious which edge they occupy. Okay. That's because I was enjoying the close-up view of that long jawline. Okay. I'm sorry to have deprived you of that. Blocking terrain. A banner may trace any route from the edge of a map it is in to the destination edge of an adjacent tile. Banners may avoid crossing rivers or mountains where it is possible by going around them. If a banner cannot trace a route without crossing either an area of Brown Mountain or unbridged river, its route is blocked, and it will be necessary for the force to test to see if that route is found through the blocking terrain. See route roll. Oh, so you might be able to get through it. Note that some special rules apply to blocking terrain as noted. City bridges. If a river tile has a city in it, the settlement is assumed to lie on or near the river and include a bridging point. This does not apply to fortresses or villages. Mountain cities. If a mountain tile has a city in it, it is assumed to be a mountain passes leading from every edge and passing through the city. A friendly force may therefore move through mountain terrain on that tile without having to take a route roll. Mountain edge. If the banner is positioned on a mountainous edge, and if the Brown Mountain extends to the tile, the banner does not have to cross the mountain again unless it moves over a different way. If a banner is positioned on a mountainous edge, and if the Brown Mountain extends onto the tile, the banner does not have to cross the mountain again unless it moves over a different mountain edge on the same or an adjacent tile. I'll have to look at that, an example of that. In the examples below, it's important to move into the destination tile without crossing it. It's impossible to move into the destination tile without crossing a mountain. Swamp tile is special. It's completely impassable and can neither be scouted nor moved into. It is not possible to make a route roll in order to enter the swamp. Open water, only ships can move across the sea. Nautical movement in warfare is described separately in the ships and sea section. The route roll. A banner may not normally move into a tile if it's impossible to do so without crossing an area of Brown Mountains or unabridged rivers. Such terrain blocks movement as described above. If forces intend movement that takes them across blocking terrain, the player must make a route roll. On a roll, only one roll is made, irrespective of the amount of blocking terrain. Roll d6 and consult the following. Result. 1 to 2, failure. Cannot move. 3 to 4, perilous route. A route is uncovered but is narrow and perilous. If the force moves, the player rolls a d6 and can potentially lose forces. Oh, so but you get to make that choice. Okay, you found a perilous route. Do we move? Loses d6 times 10, d6 times 20. Also all baggage with the force. Oh, this could be risky. Also lose 1 point of baggage per banner. Lose 1 point of baggage for the entire force. 5 to 6, you manage to make it through. Or 5 to 6, a safe route is found and the force may cross without danger. If no route is found, this does not prevent another attempt to find a route in the following campaign turn, nor does it prevent other players from trying to find a route to the same tile during their turn. No other force or player may use the route during that or another turn. Routes must be always established afresh when a player force wishes to cross from one tile to another. This is because routes across mountains and rivers are never reliable. Sudden storms or heavy rains often close mountain passes, flood rivers, or generally make passage unpredictable. Moving into battle. If banners move to a tile containing a force of one or more hostile banners, there will be a battle. The moving banners are referred to as attackers, and the enemy is defenders. Defenders may only avoid a battle by taking refuge in a city or fortress in the tile, in which case there will be a siege. Oh, so they can't just leave. If a banner moves into a tile containing an independent settlement, there will always be a battle. When forces are brought to battle, the result can be determined immediately using the battles without models rules described later. Alternatively, armies using mighty empires together with Warhammer Fantasy battles can fight them out. Right, we know that. Battles against small independent forces are usually settled without fighting at the tabletop because they can be rather one-sided affairs. All right, do we have enough time to take a look at how to fight a battle? I guess we do. When a force moves into a tile containing an enemy force, a battle is fought. Battles are resolved by means of the rules given below. Alternatively, battles can be... Yeah, okay, we know that. That's what Interlight talking about. We've got the same information multiple times. It is possible that opposing forces are in the same tile, but are divided by a blocking terrain feature such as a river or mountain. This does not prevent a battle from being fought, but makes no difference to the theoretical positions of the banners on the map. This does not prevent a battle from being fought, but makes no difference to the theoretical positions of the banners on the map, i.e., neither force is considered to have crossed the blocking terrain. Perhaps the two forces clash when passes are clear and rivers low, or passage is adequate for troops but too narrow for baggage, equipment, or other paraphernalia. Whatever the reason, fighting a battle makes no difference to subsequent route rolls for crossing blocking terrain. Each player declares the total point value of his force. The side with the most points has advantage, but will not necessarily win. The players refer to the combat table shown below. The point value of the opposing forces are rounded up to the nearest value on the table, and the two forces compared to give a factor from -8 to +8. The factor represents the attacker's chance of winning. A high positive factor means the attacker will almost certainly win. A high negative factor means he will probably lose. So this is the defender. Here is point value over here. And attacker's strength in points going this way. So if the attacker is bringing in 1,500 points, he's going to have a penalty if he's going into 2,500. So a -1 penalty. There's only 250 points in there. He's got a +5 bonus. So that's why it's important you scout and you get to find out what the point value of the banners inside are. Strategic modifiers. The 6 strategic battle cards. Oh, so this is what the battle cards are. The 6 strategic battle cards are used to represent any advantage gained by outmaneuvering, outfighting, or outsmarting your opponents. The attacking player secretly chooses one of the 3 attacker cards: direct attack, surprise attack, or flank attack. Meanwhile, the defending player also selects one of the 3 defender cards: counterattack, hold, or withdraw. Once both players have made their choice, they reveal their cards and compare them using the chart below. So that's an opportunity to withdraw. So we do have withdrawal here. You got to fight the battle, but you can declare withdrawal. That might mean something later. And then here's attacker's option and defender's option and how they further modify the roles. We were talking about that earlier. I used the rules from War Master for battles instead of the rules here. I would be very tempted myself to see how War Master integrates with this. It sounds like it worked in your case. I want the option of being able to dice it out at this level of abstraction, but playing it with War Master figures or War Master games, I think would be fun. Random modifier. There is no such thing as certainty in battle. A commander can tip the balance in his favor, but who is to prevent chance from tipping it back against him? The basic factor modified by the strategic modifier. To the basic factor modified by the strategic modifier, add the score of 2d6. If the score is a double, this indicates that an important leader or hero has fallen casualty. So once the overall score has been established, basic factor plus strategic modifier plus 2d6, consult the chart below. Score 2 or less, defender wins. Okay, so we only have to roll this once. So basic factor here, strategy factor here, and we're just adding this up for a battle, not per side, per battle, and then 2d6 to the battle. Defender wins, draw, attacker wins, attacker wins. A defeated force must withdraw from the tile immediately. If an attacking force is defeated, it's moved back to the tile from which it came from. If the defending force is defeated, it must retreat to an adjacent tile which is part of the player's empire. A defeated defending force is unable to retreat if there are no adjacent tiles belonging to the player's empire. When this happens, the force is destroyed. A force retreating over a mountain or a river must make a route roll and is destroyed if it cannot find a route. If a force has not already taken its campaign turn, if a force which has not already taken its campaign turn is defeated, it may not scout or move during the rest of the campaign turn. It's possible the defeated force may be attacked by yet another enemy during the same campaign turn, in which the player has the option of fighting or of avoiding combat by making another one-tile move as if defeated. It seemed like there would be some penalties to having already fought in one campaign turn. But if you've already fought, you can back off automatically. If the entire defeated force is driven into panic by the tile, the entire defeated force is driven in panic from the tile and is said to have been scattered. The force retreats in confusion and disorder, breaking up and dispersing as it does so. The force retreats from the tile as described as above, defended. In addition, the scattered force abandons all of its baggage, and that is captured by the enemy. The scattered force may not make a route roll to cross mountains or rivers and is destroyed if it must do so in order to move. If the force is represented by a tabletop army, then any siege engines and war altars are also abandoned and are captured by the enemy. Once the force reaches the safety of an adjacent friendly tile, it reunites into its normal manners and suffers no further effects. If the game is a draw, both sides must leave the tile and retreat as if defeated. Oh, both of you have to leave. Forces must retreat to an adjacent tile if it's part of their empire. A force attempting to cross mountains, okay, make the route roll. Stays in the defender's empire. A winning force remains in possession of the tile. Any settlement models or territory markers in the tile are replaced with those bearing the player's own colored flag and become part of their empire. A victorious commander may decide to pursue a defeated force until it leaves the tile, though he does not have to do so. There are definite advantages, but there are also attendant risks. A pursued force is likely to abandon any baggage or heavy gear it still has. Casualties are likely to be left behind, and small groups of enemies may be caught and mopped up. On the other hand, pursuers may become dispersed and could fall prey to rearguard actions of the foes. So we've got a D6 here. Capture general, capture baggage, cover retreat, rear guard. The pursuers become overstretched and are caught by a small group of rear guard troops, inflicting a serious defeat and ending the pursuit. The pursuers lose 1d6 times 50 points of troops. Deducting losses. Yeah, do that by point or by your models. Any doubles rolled on the random factor means that a character has been slain during the battle. Roll a d6 to determine which side has lost the character. 1 to 3 attacker, 4 to 6 defender. When using points only, the character deducts a further d6 times 20 points from his forces. If forces are represented by model armies, then the player must nominate any character model from his force to be a casualty. Rough. Yet mass combat roll. Sable Phoenix says this is an awful lot like the campaign map in a Total War game. And I don't know Total War. Oh, Access Your Inner Light says model painting. I got a mega set of speed paints 1.0. They were on sale. And now I'm trying to figure out a white spray primer that I can use with it. It's preferably less than $20. You know, I had enjoyed mine. You know, I got the, I did pre-order the metallic speed paints, but you know, they're not here yet. I kind of thought they would already be here by now. But I don't have them. Independent settlements and how many points for each defender. Whether it's a village, fortress, or city, D6. An independent force in a village will always march out to fight. If the independent force is in a city or fortress tile that has greater point value than the attacker, it will also fight. Otherwise, it will draw to the settlement and fight a siege. So here are our siege options. Unlike battles, sieges can take several turns to resolve. Well, actually, we've been going. I've got other things I've got to do today because I've only got a few hours. And then I've got to prepare for dinner and a board game tonight. So we might just stop here at sieges and see if we want to go later, continue on. But so tonight, 6 o'clock, I'm starting earlier tonight. No morning grind tomorrow morning, because I will be away. So I'm also starting this earlier tonight. So I'm starting dinner and a board game tonight at 6 o'clock p.m. We'll be playing, I'll be playing the Barbarian Quest Pack Quest 3, one of the Barbarian solo quests. I'm looking forward to it. So that's 6 o'clock p.m. You can already find the thumbnail that's been set up, and the thumbnail's been set up on YouTube. So you can already find it. You can hit the notify me. It's there. So I will be doing that this evening. So I hope to see you with me. We had a great time. We've been having a great time on Dinner and a Board Game for the past couple of games that we've done. They're live. They are a lot. Oh, yes. Thank you, Sable Phoenix. Please do like the stream. If you have been here, please give it a like. And I hope to see everybody tonight. So in the meantime, be productive, have fun, and then see you tonight. Later, everybody. Grind on.